Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is Tuesday, October 8th. Week 5 is in the Shabookskis.
The books.
It's in the books. Can't believe it's already week 6.
Holy cow. The year is really flying by fast, isn't it?
There's 17 games and we have 11 left. Playoffs is like a whole year, though.
Yeah. Especially if you're a Patriots fan.
Yeah. You watched the whole time. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon right across from me.
What's up?
Today we got a lot to get to. Waiver wire ads, streaming options, quick reactions. We'll start with the news, but before we get into the news, I'm tripping over my words already. Check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. We got some great content. Waiver wire article by, I believe it's Adam Hutchison, came out today. Be sure to check that out. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, at the FFChamps. On Instagram, at the Fantasy Champions. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thefantasychampions. Subscribe wherever you listen. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, all that good stuff. Leave a review. Share the podcast with your friends. Let's get to the news.
Well, there you go.
According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Tyreek Hill has a realistic chance of playing Week 6 against the Texans.
I thought there was a realistic chance he was going to play this past week. And then they kind of brushed it off, but
I wouldn't bring him back too fast.
I wouldn't either, but I think he's going to play this week, especially now they lost.
Yeah, that's probably... Well, I believe that the Chiefs play the Seahawks this week.
Is it the Seahawks?
I believe so. I'm going to check just to make sure, but that's going to be...
Is it in Seattle?
It is. No, it's the Chiefs and the Texans. I apologize.
You did say Texans. You said Texans.
I didn't say Texans. I said Seahawks.
Before that, I think you did say Texans.
I wanted to say Seahawks. They don't even play the Seahawks this year. See, where did I read that? I need to start checking my sources. Well, Houston and Kansas City is a good game at least.
That will be a good game.
Yeah, so that'll probably be the return of Tyreek Hill. Do you expect a slow increase of play or not?
I think if he's ready to go, they'll probably just use him. Are you asking because if you have him on your team, would you start him type thing? Because I would, yeah.
Yeah, I would probably start him. Yeah. According to Jason Lock and Fora, there's a lot of teams lining up with interest, willing to trade a first-round pick for AJ Green.
Oh, that's
very interesting, and I would believe that the Patriots would be one of those teams.
Why would you give up a first-round pick for AJ Green, who's getting older and
you know what this shows me? This whole battle between running backs and teams right now, where they hold out and they ask for money, and then they don't want to give them the money, and like with Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell last year, and all that. Like we already knew that teams don't value running backs, but the fact that they'll give up first-round picks for wide receivers. Dallas did it last year with Amari Cooper. It's like, if there's a talented enough guy, like wide receivers are worth it. You know what I mean? And running backs just aren't. For teams, if you're thinking in an NFL context. Mm-hmm. Fantasy football is totally different.
See, even in an NFL context, I don't know how valuable receivers. Like, you need good receivers, but like...
Not everyone's Mahomes.
No, you need good receivers, obviously, but like the AJ Greens, like how... I don't know if... I mean, it's a different discussion for a different day, but I'm not sure if like a superstar wide receiver is really worth what the asking price is.
Yeah, I mean...
Like, you obviously need good weapons, right? But
yeah.
I think there's a difference between good weapons and like an Odell Beckham Jr., you know?
Right. This might also put a damper on the Diggs trade discussions. Apparently there's several teams that are very excited about Diggs too. If I was a team in the NFL, I'd probably want Diggs over AJ Green, to be honest.
I would too. And
youth. I mean, the paycheck is big, but it's worth it.
Well, that is kind of the concern, is just Diggs' contract.
Right. Wayne Gallman suffered a concussion in the Giants game. This is rather funny, not funny, interesting. You know, did you notice something? I do want to talk about Gallman, but there was a lot of concussions this week.
Oh yeah, there were
a lot of concussions. But Wayne Gallman comes in. Who the heck even is the backup running back at this point?
They said it in the broadcast. The 2 seconds I watched the game.
I believe his name is like Jeffrey Hillman. That could be wrong though.
Whoever it is, not gonna
I know his last
He
name
might
is
actually.
Hillman.
You know what? Barkley might not play this week. So
Yeah, that the Giants, man.
And you know what? The Patriots luck out again.
To be honest with you, I think my guess would be that I would say drop Gallman now because there's no chance he plays. If he's still in concussion protocol by Thursday night, there's no chance he plays.
People put $100 of their bidding money for one 25-point week.
Yeah, I know. But with Saquon coming back, most likely, I would say if he doesn't play Thursday, he's definitely coming back week 7. That's not
I think
But with that being the case, if Gallman doesn't play Thursday night, then it's a guarantee that he's not going to be anywhere near the starting lineup for week 7. So I would drop Gallman now. Patrick Mahomes tweaked his ankle on Sunday's week 5 loss to the Colts. He is expected to be okay. One of his fat offensive linemen stepped on it. So there's that. He should be okay. It was interesting to see the Colts completely rip apart Patrick Mahomes' ability to do anything. I have not, in the last year and a half, I have not seen a team hold the Chiefs to 13 points.
I think it's starting to catch up to them that they don't have
anybody.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, really.
Yeah, it is starting to catch up.
They had to use Byron Pringle, who we'll talk about a little bit later.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can only do that for so long. And the offensive line got dominated by the defensive line of the Colts. So, I mean, that's the key. But that's the key to stopping really any good quarterback.
Yeah.
Play good coverage and pressure the quarterback. Like, that's...
Yeah, well, the big thing for Mahomes and what makes him different than literally everyone else is his ability to get out of the pocket and avoid getting sacked and then making a play out of nothing. So that's what makes him extremely good. But if you figure out a way to contain him and he has to sit in the pocket and throw, I've noticed that he's not like he's amazing, but it's possible to stop Patrick Mahomes because he just doesn't have his guys. When that ankle injury happened, he was nervous about running around. And you could see it. He would sit in the pocket and wait. And because the Colts were playing man coverage, Mahomes didn't know what to do with it. He was like, okay, my guys aren't open. What do I do now? There was like this ridiculous. I just want to note this. It was a ridiculous catch by like the 5th string wide receiver. Like Mahomes threw it between like 2 guys and they were like in double coverage. It was actually not a great throw. It was like underthrown and he had to turn around and get it. But both freaking corners missed the ball and it landed right in the receiver's hands. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like everything goes right for this guy.
Was it an underthrow or was it a back shoulder?
It wasn't a back shoulder because he caught it on the stomach.
He could have been meant to.
He meant to throw it like that. Well, he didn't.
When Brady does stuff like that, the broadcast says he always means to do that.
That's true.
So I think
we'll see. Well, there was 2 guys on him, so it was kind of a dangerous place to throw the ball. I don't know. You have to see the play. The Redskins fired head coach Jay Gruden. Good for them. And then they hired offensive line coach Bill Callahan to be the interim head coach.
The offensive line coach?
He also stated that he doesn't know who's going to start this Sunday, so there's that. You know, they called Jay Gruden this morning at 5 a.m. and said, can you come in? 5 a.m.
Yeah, that's brutal.
That's so evil.
Tough. Hey,
I got the notification at 7 o'clock in the morning.
So now we have the game of the year, though, this week.
Yeah.
It is the Dolphins and Redskins.
Pass.
Who will win?
Yeah.
Who are you betting on?
Yeah. Mason Rudolph suffered a pretty nasty concussion that will keep him out week 6. Backup quarterback guy they just signed off the practice squad rookie, Delvin Hodges, is expected to start week 6. I don't really want to talk about any more Steelers.
Poor Juju.
Yeah, poor Juju. According to Adam Schefter, Philip Dorsett suffered a minor hamstring injury. He should be okay. Coach Doug Peterson said Deshaun Jackson is still rehabbing, but, quote, getting close to returning.
Wasn't that originally just supposed to be a 2-week injury?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that happened in week 1, I think, right?
Saquon, 22 years old, comes back from an injury like in 2 weeks. Deshaun Jackson gets a minor injury, comes back 12 weeks later. Freaking old man.
He needs to go to Wakanda like Barkley.
Yeah, true. Zach Taylor confirmed AJ Green won't practice this week, and he's going to be inactive versus the Ravens, so he will be out another week. A lot of people thought he would be back by week 4, and he's still out. So, Coach Cliff Kingsbury said David Johnson's back will be monitored all week. He suffered some form of back injury in the game. Didn't have to come out, but apparently he's in pain. So keep an eye on that situation. That's all the news I got, unless you have something that I didn't say.
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right, let's move into our quick reactions for week 5. I wanted to start off by saying that Christian McCaffrey
Dude is insane.
is out of this world. He's talented, and he gets an insane amount of opportunity. He's like the only weapon in the Carolina Panthers offense. So it's like, oh, let's just give it to this guy the entire time. I was wrong on McCaffrey.
Thank you.
Well, how many times do I got to say I was wrong on McCaffrey before I realized?
I think
it's been like at least 6
fool you
times.
once.
I wasn't, so I thought Christian McCaffrey was going to be a top 4 back, but what was making me nervous is that they made that mention of trying to restrict his workload and move him back a little bit, and obviously that didn't happen.
But when that came out though, you also said like if they sign somebody. But they never signed somebody.
No, they never signed anyone. I didn't think they were going to reduce his workload that much. I still thought he was going to be a top 3 back. But not only did they not reduce his workload, they're giving him more.
Yep.
I expressed my concerns last week about if you are a Christian McCaffrey owner, I wouldn't, sit there and worry about it. But the amount they utilize him, at some point, something bad's going to happen. You know what I mean? You get the ball enough times, it's gonna go the wrong way for him. So I'm not saying he's going to get injured. I'm not predicting that he's going to get injured, but he's getting a lot of work, and somebody else kind of needs to.
No, I know what you're saying, but like, there's so many running backs in this league that get a lot of work, and
yeah, I know. I'm even like
fine.
I think for guys, it's just you can't literally take that much.
Yeah.
For 16 games, like people do that in college, and
I was scared of Barkley
12.
this year too, and he got the injury, so I get where you're coming from.
But he's the number 1 running back.
Yeah, and if you have Christian McCaffrey on your team, like I don't think you should be worrying.
No.
Like you sure you can be worried about injuries for every single play in the league, but
yeah. I'm always concerned about injury. But I just think that the way he's getting utilized is just so.
Oh, it's insane.
There's so many. He touches the ball like 30 times a game. It's unreal.
There was a lot of guys that went off this week.
Yeah.
Will Fuller, 46 fantasy points, half PPR.
Yeah.
And we had someone in our league start him.
Yeah, who do you play?
He played the Atlanta Falcons.
See, that's not a bad start, though. That's not like why would you start him, you idiot?
Well, it's not. But, dude.
He's the number 2 wide receiver on the team, and if they're going to
He hasn't had double-digit points yet this year.
Yeah, it is.
He hadn't even had 8 points yet this year. He's gotten 7, 6, 7, 3, and then 46.
It's called a sleeper, bro. I wouldn't advise to start him, but hey, it is what it is. There was a lot of guys that went off.
Aaron Jones.
It was a kind of a weird week.
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it was like, if you look around your league, you're kind of thinking, what the heck happened this week? And if you're the team that ended up with the bad end of that, 75 fantasy points, whatever format you're in, you got screwed. But there were just so many teams. Like in our personal league, we had a team with we have a team with 180 fantasy points and a team with 160 fantasy points playing off against each other. And Odell Beckham has yet to play.
Yeah,
we're a half PPR league, by the way. So it was just a really weird week in terms of like
high scoring.
And you know what's going to happen next week?
It's going to be
the wide receiver one's going to get like 17 points.
Yeah.
But Will Fuller had probably the best day.
Yeah.
He's one of they said it was like a top 10 fantasy performance of all time for a wide receiver.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's crazy. But there were people with like Will Fuller, Aaron Jones, and Deshaun Watson all in one team, and they started all 3 of them. Like, that's ridiculous.
That is
absolutely ridiculous. And guys coming into the week that I thought would be really good, i.e. my man's Ezekiel Elliott against Green Bay and their porous defense. That didn't turn out. 16 fantasy points 16? Ain't bad. It is what it is. I did want to say Cooper Kupp is a wide receiver 1. I looked at his pacing, and he makes me really nervous because he's not getting targeted like a number one wide receiver would be. But at this point, I'm gonna say that he can be a wide receiver one. Yeah.
I've been saying he's a wide receiver one for.
There's just so many players that can be wide receiver ones.
Yeah, it's still hard because there's so many targets on that team to go around. But Kupp's clearly Goff's favorite.
Oh, right? Yeah. I don't think that's a problem. I think at some point, he's gotten at least 9 targets every game this year. He had 17 in Thursday Night Football last week. 17 targets in one game. That sounds like a desperate Jared Goff.
You know who had 17 targets earlier this year? Jamison Crowder in Week 1 when Sam Darnold was in.
Stop. Yeah. If you have Cooper Kupp, I would, obviously don't sell him, but hold on to him. But I would definitely watch out because over the course of the season, like last year, a very high scoring slot receiver by the name of Adam Thielen was going off. He was getting like 20 points a game. He was playing very well. And then right after Week 8, the guy started
falling off. Are you saying
falling off? I'm not.
This year's...
That was due to the fact that when I say that was due to the fact that they changed offensive systems midway through the season. The Los Angeles Rams aren't changing offensive systems. I do think Cooper Kupp is getting. He got hurt less than a year ago from this ACL injury, and they're giving him a lot of work. And it's like he seems to be okay with it, and it's working. But I do think they have to be careful with Cooper Kupp and the type of injury that he suffered last time that can be, it can flare up again and it can be re-injured. So I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Like I said, same thing about Christian McCaffrey, but Cooper Kupp is a wide receiver one. I do see as the season goes along, things starting to even out a little bit between the three of them. But right now the guy getting open is Cooper Kupp. So that's what they're going to do. Chris Godwin might outscore Mike Evans this year. You told me today that you didn't believe me until now.
I didn't. I thought you were.
I didn't believe me until now.
You nailed it though, because you said just the Bruce Arians system.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's built.
Have I said that on this podcast?
Yes, you have.
Okay, all right. Continue. I talk about it a lot, and I'm not sure I talked about it.
Yes, you have said it. And how you compared it to the Cardinals.
Yep.
When Bruce Arians was the coach, and how they used Fitzgerald and John Brown.
Yeah.
It is how they're using Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Yeah. I just figured because Mike Evans has always been Jameis Winston's favorite target, that would stay that way no matter what. But Chris Godwin's been the open guy.
Yeah, I think it's also due to the fact that so Larry Fitzgerald has been used in that Arizona offense when Bruce Arians was there as the slot receiver. And they don't call it a slot receiver in Arians' offense, but it is what it is. Chris Godwin is essentially playing that role while Mike Evans is the outside guy. So Godwin's going to be probably the more consistent player, and Mike Evans is going to be the boom, 36 points, bust type of guy. Mike Evans is going to be a wide receiver one, so don't be tilting and starting and trying to trade him and stuff like that. But the only thing that concerns me about Godwin is he does have this inability to. He doesn't have a lot of inabilities, but they're only targeting him around 100. He's on pace for 140 targets, I believe. Mike Evans is around the same thing. I found in my many months and years of researching wide receiver ones that top 5 wide receivers consistently get 160 targets unless your name is Tyreek Hill. So I'm going to say that Chris Godwin will probably finish outside of the top 5, even though he's probably the number 1 in your league, unless they continue to target him 9 to 12 times a game.
Yeah.
If they continue,
but I don't know. Is that going to happen? Because
I don't think so.
It feels like week to week they do kind of.
It's not like
they throw it to the open man.
So Chris Godwin this week, it was up until the end of the second quarter that they started using Godwin a lot more. I think he had 3 targets and he caught 2 balls for a touchdown at 50 yards or something like that. So his performance was already set for the day, kind of. Yeah. But it wasn't until the second half when they realized, okay, Mike Evans is getting squashed and O.J. Howard's a garbage can, that they were like, okay, we're going to throw it to Chris Godwin the rest of the time. So for me, I think they want to get it to Mike Evans, but Mike Evans, for whatever reason, has not been getting open, whether that's, the coverage that he's facing or just his inability to get open. I don't know, but Godwin is right now the better wide receiver. We'll see as that happens.
Yeah.
What happens over the
it's
course
clear
of the
the
season.
they played the Saints this week, and Marshawn Lattimore is a very, very good cornerback.
Yeah.
And he probably was ghosting Mike Evans the whole time. So
Yeah.
But will that change?
No.
Anytime they play a team with a good corner?
Well, I think here's the big thing for me, and this is what you should look out for, is figure out if you can find out what it is, because a lot of teams won't even release this information. But Chris Godwin plays basically a slot receiver type role. So the slot corner on the other defense is usually going to cover. Usually defenses' number one cornerbacks aren't slot corners. They're usually outside corners.
Yeah.
So that's why Evans is going to get entangled most of the time while Godwin's left open. That's why Juju was so good last year too, is because the outside receiver was getting tied up by Antonio Brown, leaving Juju up the middle to do whatever it is that he wanted to do. Now, of course, Antonio Brown still finished as a top 3 wide receiver, but I don't know. Mike Evans, and I think a lot of people need to realize what Mike Evans really is at this point. I feel like people came into the season thinking that Mike Evans was going to be this top 5 wide receiver. Myself probably included. I didn't think he was going to be a top 5 receiver, but I thought he was going to be really close. But he's not that, and he never has been that. So he's always been like 7, 8. He's in years where the wide receiver position is down. He could usually jump to like 6 maybe. That's kind of where he lands. The question is, can Godwin be a top 5 receiver if he continues to play like this? And I think it's yes. But it's just a matter if he can. Does he continue he got 9 targets this week, 13 targets last week. So it's like, can he continue?
I think he's gonna need closer to the 13. Like he's gonna need double-digit targets.
Yeah. Oh, of course. That's where I have trouble believing that he's going to be that guy. Like if you have Chris Godwin on your team, you should probably. I'm not saying sell him, but think about sending out not trade offers, but putting him out there and saying, would you guys want to buy Chris Godwin? Number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. He's been playing really well. He's outplaying Mike Evans, and see what other people come to you with. And if you find a deal that makes sense for you, then do that deal. But just know, like, this is what I always look at when you have top receivers. I go to, profootballreference.com or whatever it is, look up the pacing. You know what I mean? And figure out what the player is pacing out at, and figure out how many targets he's pacing out at. Because if he's not pacing out at 150, 160 targets and he's in the top 10, then he's probably not going to continue the pace of play that he's at. And that's what I see with Chris Godwin. I'm not saying he's not going to continue the pace of play, but getting 28 and 36 fantasy points a game is not going to happen. So he'll come down to 15 or 16 fantasy points a game. But it's going to be interesting to see if Godwin can outscore Mike Evans.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to see. And then one final note. I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to add.
Is DJ Chark real?
I'm not sure. I'll look it up right now. I'll tell you if he's real.
Okay.
Looks like he's real.
I'm just asking for a friend.
For a friend that owns him, i.e. you.
No.
So
just
right now, Chark is on pace for 118 targets. He has been increasing in target share, but I don't... Just knowing how their offense is right now, Jacksonville's, the main feature, the only guy in the offense that you can really fully trust for me is Leonard Fournette at this point. I think that DJ Chark has a chance of being good, and I think they finally found we as fantasy people have found our wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Finally, we thought it was Westbrook, but it's not. So I think he's going to be good, but to me, he's no different than Courtland Sutton, a touchdown dependent wide receiver. Like this week, what did he do? 36, 30. What did he?
Chark?
Yeah,
32.5.
32. So, but most of that, the 164 yard. He's had 2 games this year with 140 plus fantasy. 140.
I was gonna say, wow,
Woo! 140 plus yards.
Yeah.
If you take the other 3 performances and you rate them out for the rest of the season, and he only ends with around 117 targets, 80 catches, 933 yards, and 11 touchdowns, which is not bad. But it's a wide receiver too. So I think in the end, when all is
who's
squared
better,
away,
Chark or Sutton?
I think Sutton.
Okay.
Because I actually, this is a more speculative thing, but I think Emmanuel Sanders I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to be traded.
He only had one target this week.
So my thought is that Courtland Sutton is the main guy. Chark is the main guy in Jacksonville too, but I don't know. That's a great question. It's a tough one. It's like kind of even. I think they'll both end up wide receiver twos though.
Okay.
I wanted to just give one final note on this. Aaron Jones is a monster when he's given the opportunity.
Yeah.
He had 150 all-purpose yards around there and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, the 4 touchdowns, I saw that and went,
whoa. And everyone's like, wow, free Jones. Aaron Jones is freed. Hashtag free Aaron Jones is like a thing. So I'm like looking through Twitter. I'm like, they're all just going to be horribly deceived when Jamal Williams comes back next week.
Yep.
He splits snaps with that. We know what Aaron Jones is when he gets the full workload. We saw it at the end of last year. And that's why me and yourself included both thought that he was going to be a running back 1 this year with that upside. And I think he still can do that.
Yeah.
But it's going to be tough as an Aaron Jones owner. It feels good this week to get that 42-point game and feel really good about but when he's splitting carries with Jamal Williams, it's so painful to watch. And it's like, why don't you just put Aaron Jones in there because Williams gets like 2 yards a carry? I don't care if I don't care if Jamal Williams is a super nice guy and he's funny. That's good for your locker room. That's not good for game production. You know what I mean?
Wow. I think what you could counter that with is Aaron Jones is not ready to be a workhorse, and you need another guy next to him.
Yeah, he looked gassed.
He looked gassed, and he's just not like physically ready to be a workhorse. So you would still need.
I think that's what
else.
they're nervous about, and I think it's also like he's kind of fragile.
Yeah, so that too.
That too. Hurt. They're gonna be like crap. But he should be getting, if you want to get Jamal Williams like 30% of the snaps, then feel free. He needs to be getting 70% of the work. Like, that's just smart for your team.
He should get,
he should. It shouldn't be 55-45 or 52-48.
It should be like 70-30.
You know what I mean? It should be 70-30. Yeah. So he's a monster when given opportunity. I thought he was the Christian McCaffrey. Possibly him or Leonard Fournette were going to be the Christian McCaffrey of last year, who somehow jump up into the top 5 and perform as a 3rd round pick at least. And it looks like either one of them could do it. So
yeah,
those are our quick reactions for the week. Let's move into our waiver wire and QB streamers, addition/streamers, whatever you want to call them, for the week. Another crappy week in fantasy. And we'll start with the running back position. Is there anyone that you are looking at as a target? I know if Wayne Gallman is out against the Patriots, do you give any speculative thought to adding? His name is Jonathan Hillman.
Let's see. No.
Yeah, don't even talk. Don't even think about it. There are going to be people in your league that are going to waste FOB on picking this guy up to start him. Don't do that.
And we're talking running backs right now?
Just don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, at this point, there's really no good running backs out there.
There's nothing that has been... There was one guy that did have a decent week this week behind... It astounds me that Christian McCaffrey had 42 fantasy points, and this guy, his backup, Reggie Bonifin, had like 80 yards rushing.
Wow.
That's insane to me.
That is.
But
would you say, do you start handcuffing at this point, now that we're in week 6?
Yeah, I would say if you have certain players. The problem is that you're at this point in the season where you still are not sure on some of the guys on your bench. Like, I have Ronald Jones and Royce Freeman in a couple of leagues, right? And it's like, when you're sitting there with those two guys, you're waiting for something to happen, something to give.
Yeah, but how long at this point are you going to wait?
How long are you going to wait
for that?
Right. So it's like, but to argue that point, last year you had Nick Chubb and you gave up I don't even know if it was a start handcuffing, but you gave up on him and you dropped him and then he went off. So it's like, that's what you're kind of waiting for. You don't want to just start dropping guys to pick up your handcuffs. It is getting to that point in the season where you don't want to get screwed and then have to waste 160 of your waiver budget for certain guys. But if you have Zeke, Tony Pollard, go grab him. If you have Alexander Mattison, if you have Dalvin Cook, grab Alexander Mattison. If you have, I don't know, Reggie Bonifant if you're Christian McCaffrey. I don't know. I don't even
like Jalen Samuels if you're James Conner.
But Jalen Samuels might even be like
he might
he might even be a guy you can start your flex. So at this point, there's not a lot. I would say Ito Smith would be the guy that he's only owned in 11% of leagues. So if you're sitting there and you need to add a running back, that would probably be the guy that I would add.
I agree. I'd probably go with him too, but
Devonta Freeman has looked awful on the ground, and he's okay through the air.
The last few, that's true.
But Ito Smith is starting to eat into the groundwork of Devonta Freeman. And if anything happens to Devonta Freeman, Ito Smith becomes, at least a low-end RB2. You know what I mean? And so I think that's worth an ad, not hoping that, Devonta Freeman gets hurt, but just knowing his injury history and the type of player that he is and the fact that he's not playing well, Ito Smith would be a good speculative ad for your team.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I don't.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to add anybody. DeAndre Washington maybe last week, but like after this week, there's no real. Stay far away from him. And then, like I said, don't go after Jonathan Hillman. Don't waste your fob. Don't do that to yourself.
He's gonna go off this week against the Patriots.
Wow.
Just think about that.
That's terrible.
He won't.
So the wide receiver position has been, at least through the first 5 weeks, a little bit more prevalent on the waiver wire in terms of what you're going to do. The number one guy for me right now is someone that you just mentioned. You're a psychopath, and you held on to Jamison Crowder
I did.
for 4 weeks. Not a lot of people in the fantasy world have that kind of patience, so I applaud you. 53% of people own Jamison Crowder. He's worth a look now if you go check your waiver wire. I saw a report today that said that they were taking a look and doing some tests today and tomorrow to see if Sam Darnold could start this week.
Right.
If he can go, Jamison Crowder, I think, becomes an instant, definite ad.
If Darnold starts, do you even consider starting Jamison Crowder? Or do you have to wait a week and see?
I got to wait a week and see.
Yeah.
We only saw 1 week.
It was a very good
week. And it was a very good week, but
14 receptions.
He was bad, though. He wasn't like, it was like, what was it, 5 yards per reception? That's awful. It was 99 yards, 14 catches for 99 yards.
It was a lot of short situation stuff, but anytime Sam Darnold was like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, he was looking immediately James Crowder.
Right.
Jameson Crowder.
So I think Jamison Crowder is a guy that you look at. 50, like I said, 53% owned.
He's owned it in like half the leagues.
Yeah, so go and add Crowder. Take a look. If he's available, then add him. If he's not available, then obviously you can't add him. Is there anyone else that you're looking at, really?
I am.
I feel like I talk about Dante Pettis.
Is Auden Tate?
Yeah, that's a good ad.
Is he, especially if AJ Green gets traded
for 1 more week, if you need a flex?
He had half PPR. He had 10 points this week.
Auden Tate.
You got to be really desperate, though.
Yeah, you got to be really desperate. Auden Tate might be a good ad. I just trying to see. I'm trying to see who he's playing this week. The Bengals are playing.
Even in like the last 3 weeks.
Oh, jeez.
He's had 10, 6, and 6 targets. That's not terrible. I mean, obviously that's not great, but
he's playing Baltimore. Is he a slot receiver or an outside?
I think he's an outside.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't even play him this week if I had him.
So, but again, if AJ Green gets traded, because it feels like it's going, he's been.
If he gets traded, Tyler Boyd becomes a big-time one, and, not a wide receiver one, but he becomes a very good player. And John Ross is on IR.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
So if AJ Green does get traded, Auden Tate.
So is it worth a pickup then?
Yeah, 100%. It's worth a pickup. If AJ Green does come back after week 6 and he plays for the Bengals and he's not traded, then Auden Tate becomes an instant drop. But for this week, pick him up before everyone else does. It's almost like you should snag a guy before people start even thinking about it. Like,
get ahead of the curve.
I'm not sure. How many fantasy points did he have this week?
10.
10. Okay, so he's not going to be like a big-time ad this week for people. So I might even take the risk and wait until after. Because, if you're not desperate for a player, I would take the risk and wait till after Wednesday's waiver priority goes past and then on Wednesday morning pick him up, because you can get him for free. You know, okay, hey, this guy is going to be completely free for me, and we don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean?
You know what's unfortunate?
What's that, boss?
He's already owned in our league.
Who's the clown that picked him up?
The same one that owns Christian McCaffrey.
Desperation.
That
Desperation.
jerk stole McCaffrey from me. He was mine. I claimed him with the 10th pick.
So when Brian Flores gets fired midway through the season from Miami, Preston Williams might actually be good.
You think so?
No.
Okay.
I like Preston Williams a lot. I think he's talented. He had a really good camp, and so far this year he's been decent. But
the Dolphins.
I own Kenyon Drake for a while before I dropped him, and that Dolphins offense is just something I just can't get involved with. This was an interesting situation. Have you heard the name Duke Williams before?
I have, actually.
He is a wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, and he had a 79% snap rate this week. I don't know what his fantasy point outage was, but he might be the Zay Jones of 2019. Another Bills wide receiver. I do want to see how many fantasy points he had, but this might be worth another speculative ad as well. It's if you're in a deeper league, it's probably something that you want to do, but for me, I'm not really running out to snag him. I'm just trying to look up right now what he did this week. Wide receiver.
Yeah, no, if I'm in, unless it's like a 14-team league.
So he had four catches, 29 yards, and a touchdown. It was in his first NFL game, so I don't know if
he hasn't played yet this year.
No, he hasn't. He was moved up from the practice squad. So
and he got a 70% snap share?
79.
79%
instantly. Yeah,
his first NFL game.
Yeah, that's crazy. There was one guy that I wanted to bring up, and I want to tell everyone not to. Well, actually, two guys. I'm going to say Steven Sims is a wide receiver. You're probably all going to be like, oh, my God, Steven Sims, why did he have such a good game against New England? Well, it's because of a ridiculous 65-yard rushing touchdown.
It was one play.
One play. Do not pick up Steven Sims. Is Byron Pringle, who had a good game, 6 receptions, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. Don't know how many targets he had. He had a good game for the Kansas City Chiefs because I believe early in that game, Sammy Watkins got hurt.
He did.
So here's what I'll tell you to do with Byron Pringle. Don't pick him up.
I hate Chiefs receivers, bro.
If you waste more waiver wire budget on Byron Pringle and another Chiefs wide receiver, if I get any more questions on our Twitter about Chiefs wide receivers, I'm going to lose my mind. It's like, should I start Demarcus Robinson? Should I start Mecole Hardman? Should I start Sammy Watkins?
For you.
Now this week it's going to be, should I start Byron
Should
Pringle?
I go with the Pringle or the Heartbreaker Hardman?
I'm not going to lie. There was a question that I saw this week. It was Juju Smith-Schuster or Demarcus Robinson.
And you very clearly told them Demarcus Robinson, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Clearly.
Because you love Chiefs wide receivers.
Oh, I can't. I just can't. Don't waste your waiver budget on him. He's
other than Tyreek Hill,
deep.
I don't want any Chiefs receiver.
No, I mean, I don't mind having because like I said, there's this boom. Sunday Night Football was a difficult situation for everybody involved in the Chiefs and the Colts offenses. Like, we both thought that, it was going to be high scoring. Yeah, it was going to be a high scoring game. When Mahomes isn't throwing, and a lot of people are like, whoa, these Chiefs wide receivers, they blow. It hasn't been working. You guys tell us to start Mecole Hardman. You tell us to start Demarcus Robinson. You tell us to start Sammy Watkins because one of them is going to have a big play. Well, yeah, that's true. When Mahomes is throwing touchdowns. But Mahomes he's thrown 1 touchdown in 2 weeks. So when that's not happening, then those big plays aren't happening.
Yeah.
And so guys like Byron Pringle come out of the woodwork, and people are going to add this guy and ask me if they want to start him this week, and I'm not on that train. Sorry. Don't waste your fob on him. And then one other guy, Darius Slayton from the New York Giants, had 4 receptions, 62 yards, a touchdown. Is he worth an ad in an offense that is very needing of the wide receiver position?
Probably not. Again.
Yeah, I'm not really in that.
They don't really have a lot of
Yeah.
talent offensively anyway. So
Right. Let's move on to the tight ends before we give you our streamers and then close out the show. There is a...
Can I say something?
Okay, go ahead, buddy.
Right now, the top pickup for tight ends is Gerald Everett.
That's kind of sickening to me.
For the first 3 weeks, he blew. In week 4, somebody decided to pick him up because they were super desperate for a tight end because George Kittle was on a bye.
And then he went off.
And he got like 12 fantasy points against me, and I was like, well, that's strange, and that'll never happen again. And then this week, all of a sudden against Seattle, I don't know how many fantasy points he scored. I'm going to look it up, half PPR. But he was involved in the offense the whole game.
Yeah.
Like, if you watch that game, Gerald Everett was involved in the offense.
Gross.
He has the skills to be a good tight end.
And that
like, he's
offense,
athletic.
They don't use tight ends.
But they don't. Well, it seems like they don't, but...
He's like...
He had 17 fantasy points.
I'll tell you right now, it seems like they don't.
Through the last 2 weeks, he's had 8 and 11 targets.
What?
Yeah, exactly. He's all of a sudden emerged as behind Cooper Kupp.
Now, some of these fantasy analysts and bless you.
Thank you.
Some of these fantasy analysts and experts will come out here and say, "Oh, I watched a ton of film on Gerald Everett, and I'll tell you right now, he's great, he's awesome," and they'll pretend, right? We're just gonna tell you straight up, we do not believe in Gerald Everett, but for some reason, Sean McVay now does. So as fantasy managers, what do? We just jump on the bandwagon and we just. I'm putting $100 on waiver.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
I'm
Don't
still
do that. Forgive me.
I would pick him up. Obviously, you have to at this point. But I'd still
if you need a tight end,
I'd still be nervous about him because he still has Cooper Kupp.
Right.
There's still
Like,
Robert Woods. There's still Brandon Cooks.
If you are
Todd Gurley's in that offense.
If you were the O.J. Howard owner and you're holding out hope that O.J. Howard's going to be anywhere close to good, drop him for Gerald Everett right now. He's owned in 5% of leagues. So
right, he's how is he
available.
owned in our league, dude?
That
was so dumb.
That was
And he was owned in our league 2 weeks ago.
Right. Benjamin Watson was a guy that. And I forgot to put this in our news segment, was a guy that could have been a good pickup for you this week, but he was released by the New England Patriots. Speculatively speaking, this is to clear some cap space for the New England Patriots. I think they're going to make a move. I don't know what it is. There are rumors floating around that Cincinnati has been trying to trade A.J. Green, but that's the big, sexy one. Tyler Eifert has also been on the trade block.
I wouldn't mind that.
New England needs a tight end desperately. One of their tight ends, freaking, don't even remember his name. I got to go. Ryan Izzo had 10 fantasy points this week.
Hey,
don't pick up Ryan
Everybody's
Izzo.
going to go pick up Ryan Izzo.
Oh, my God. They're going to be like, finally, Pat's tight end. Let's get it. No. Another guy that I saw that was up and coming, James O'Shaughnessy, tore his ACL this week.
He did?
Yes. So I believe he tore his ACL, and he's done. He's done for the year at least. Yeah, he tore his ACL. What about this guy was somebody that people were talking about in training camp in the preseason and in the deep, dynasty world. People love this guy, Darren Fells of the Houston Texans. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions for 20 yards.
Oh, gosh.
2 receptions, people. This is what we come down to in the tight end position in fantasy football.
No, I'm probably not picking.
I typed in Darren Fells and some guy's Twitter came up and it's not his.
It's his burner.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was speaking of the wrong player that people were talking about. Darren Fells is an old man. Forgive me.
Oh, it's
Yeah, I know. Ian Thomas is what I was thinking of. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Did he have 2 catches for?
No, it was Darren Fells.
So what did
Oh, I don't know.
Thanks, bro.
He's not even available. I don't even think he's playing right now. Don't put me under this pressure, bro. There's literally nobody else. If you're looking for a tight end.
Oh, is it? What? I thought it was. I don't know, man. The Texans use so many tight ends too in their offense.
Yeah, it's kind of gross.
They use 3 tight ends.
And I also want to. We say this every week, but this is the weekly pickup Chris Herndon.
Oh yeah.
So he's owned in 20% of leagues, and he'll probably play this week finally. So pick up Chris Herndon. Outside of that, is there any more tight ends that you wish to talk about?
There's at this point, there's really not any tight ends out there that's worth.
Like 3 years ago, I used to think streaming tight ends was a good idea.
It's not. It's not.
So streaming tight ends is not a good idea, and drafting good tight ends high is not a good idea. So you're just stuck with this reality that you better hit on a tight end in the 14th round.
Well, here's the thing. You can survive not hitting it on a tight end in the 14th round.
Yes.
But you got to pick up a good tight end after week 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's move into our QB streamers and then conclude the show really quickly.
Okay.
We're over time by like 10 minutes, so there's that.
We'll just say it real quick then.
Yep.
Who you got?
I got Teddy Bridgewater, who's been lights out the last couple weeks. He's been playing a lot better football than he played the first week he came out and started. He is playing in Jacksonville, so that is a little bit concerning for me, but Jacksonville has given up, I believe, the 25th most fantasy points to quarterbacks.
Something like that.
That might be accurate. Don't fact check me. But Teddy Bridgewater is been playing really well. That New Orleans Saints offense has been playing really well. I think you can expect a game where they start getting into a little bit of a shootout back and forth.
Fact checked you.
Okay, what is it?
It's 19th, so it's
19th,
still
all right.
Not great.
Yeah, still not great. But I think Teddy Bridgewater has a good game in this game, and with a lack of streaming options this week, I think Bridgewater's going to be good.
I'm not going far. I'm actually staying in the same game. I got Gardner Minshew, baby. Minshew mania. I'm on the train.
Side.
Listen, I've been wanting to get on this train all year. Haven't been able to do it.
Baby.
He just got 23 points this week. I'm doing it. He's at home this week against the Saints, as you just talked about.
The stash.
The Saints, who I do kind of, and I argued.
I will pay Gardner Minshew like $200 to rub the stash.
Wow, that's weird. Not gonna lie. Anyway, Minshew is up against the Saints, who I argued with you last week, saying the Saints are actually a pretty good defensive team. But they are on the road this week. They're much better at home than they are on the road when it comes to playing defense. Yeah. They gave up they're 30th right now against quarterbacks in the league. Minshew has a good matchup this week. He's had 17, 19, 19, 18, 23 points this season. He has not scored under 17 fantasy points at all this year. I'm seeing a 20-point week.
Saddle up your Gardner shares.
20-point week.
Let's go.
The Minshew, baby.
Pick them up, baby. That'll do it for our waiver wire and streaming ads. Yeah, I just love Gardner Minshew.
I thought it was Uncle Rico. Isn't that his name?
Same difference. He's been lights out.
He's been very consistent.
I'm so mad that they lost. They had so many opportunities at the end of that game. It was like 5 penalties in a row. I was like, dude, I'm so mad that he lost. I love Gardner Minshew. But that'll do it for our waiver wire ads and streaming options. Be sure to listen tomorrow as we discuss booms and busts from week 5 and go over players you should buy. Players you should buy for week 6. That'll do it. Don't forget to check out our website at The Fantasy Champions. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and talk to you tomorrow, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter at TheFFChamps.